The air in the living room hung heavy, thick with the scent of lavender candles and the faint tang of spilled wine. My hands trembled as I clutched the phone, its screen glowing with a message that seared my eyes. "Meet me tonight. Same place. Don't tell her." The words weren't meant for me, but there they were, burning through the fog of my trust in Clara, my wife of 12 years. The timestamp was 2:17 a.m., sent to a number I didn't recognize. My thumb hovered over the screen, torn between scrolling for more and hurling the device across the room. Outside, rain battered the windows, a relentless drumroll that mirrored the chaos in my chest. Clara was upstairs, humming softly as she tucked our daughter, Lila, into bed. Her voice, warm and familiar, drifted down like a cruel mockery of the life we'd built. I wanted to scream to demand answers, but my throat felt sealed shut, choked by a cocktail of dread and disbelief. Instead, I sat frozen on the couch, the phone's weight like a brick in my hands. How long had this been happening? How many nights had she slipped away while I slept, oblivious, believing in the vows we'd whispered under a starlit sky? The signs had been there, hadn't they? The late-night work calls she took in the garage, her phone angled just out of my sight. The way her laughter had grown brittle, her touch hesitant, like she was holding something back. I'd chalked it up to stress, her new promotion, the long hours at the law firm. I'd rationalized every red flag, painting over them with excuses because I loved her, because I trusted her, because I couldn't bear the alternative. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, soft but deliberate, and my heart lurched. I shoved the phone under a cushion, my pulse hammering in my ears. Clara appeared in the doorway, her dark hair loose around her shoulders, her smile tired but warm. "Lila's out like a light," she said, crossing to the kitchen. "Want some tea?" Her voice was so normal, so infuriatingly calm, it made my skin crawl. How could she stand there, pouring water into the kettle, acting like the world hadn't just cracked open? "Yeah, sure," I managed, my voice tight. I studied her, really looked at her, for the first time in months. The faint lines around her eyes, the way her fingers fidgeted with the kettle's handle. Was that guilt? Nervousness? Or was I seeing what I wanted to see, twisting innocence into betrayal? My mind churned, replaying every late night, every vague explanation. The truth felt like a splinter lodged deep, impossible to ignore but too painful to extract. We sat across from each other at the dining table, steam curling from our mugs. The silence was a living thing, pressing against my ribs. "Long day?" I asked, testing the waters, my tone casual but my eyes locked on hers. She nodded, sipping her tea, her gaze flickering to the window. "Yeah, depositions ran late. You know how it is." Her words were smooth, practiced, but there was a hitch in her breath, a split-second pause that felt like a confession. I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But the phone burned in my mind, its message of venom spreading through every memory we shared. I thought of Lila, her tiny hand clutching mine at the park, her trust in us absolute. What would this do to her? To us? I forced a smile, my stomach twisting. "You've been working a lot lately," I said, leaning forward. "Everything okay at the firm?" Her eyes met mine, and for a moment I saw something, fear maybe or defiance, before her expression softened. "Just the usual chaos," she said, reaching for my hand. Her touch was warm, familiar, but it felt like a lie. "I'm fine, Ethan." "Really?" The words were a balm, but they didn't soothe. They stung, each syllable a reminder of the chasm growing between us. Days passed, and I became a detective in my own life, scouring for clues I didn't want to find. A receipt for a coffee shop we never visited. A faint trace of cologne on her scarf, sharp and unfamiliar. Each discovery was a cut, small but deep, bleeding out my certainty. I didn't confront her, not yet. Couldn't. The truth was a cliff, and I wasn't ready to fall. Instead, I watched her. At breakfast, she'd laugh with Lila, her eyes bright, but there was a distance in them, a shadow that hadn't been there before. At night, she'd curl against me, her breath steady, but I'd lie awake, wondering who she was dreaming of. The suspense was torture, a slow unraveling of everything I thought I knew. I started checking her phone when she showered, my hands shaking as I scrolled through messages, call logs, anything. Each time I found nothing new, but the absence of evidence only deepened my paranoia. Then came the night that broke me. Lila was at a sleepover, and Clara said she had a late meeting. I nodded, kissed her goodbye, and waited until her car pulled out. Then I followed her. The rain was back, slicking the roads, blurring the taillights of her sedan. My heart pounded as I trailed her, keeping my distance, the wiper's rhythm a metronome to my dread. She didn't go to the firm. She pulled into a motel lot, its neon sign flickering like a bad omen. I parked across the street, my breath shallow, watching as she stepped out, her coat pulled tight against the rain. A man emerged from a room, tall, broad-shouldered, his face obscured by an umbrella. She ran to him and they disappeared inside, the door clicking shut like a gunshot in my mind. I sat there, rain drumming on the roof, my world collapsing in slow motion. Anger clawed at me, but beneath it was something worse. Grief, raw and suffocating, for the life I thought we had. I didn't storm in. I didn't scream or fight. I drove home, the road a blur through my tears, and waited. When Clara came back, her hair damp, her smile forced, I said nothing. I let her kiss me, let her lie about her meeting, let her think she was safe. But inside I was unraveling, plotting, deciding. The next morning I called her boss. Casual chat, I said, just checking in. He was confused. Clara hadn't had late meetings in weeks. The confirmation was a blade, slicing through the last of my denial. I spent the day gathering evidence, quiet and methodical, my anger hardening into something colder. Bank statements, emails, a second phone I found hidden in her glove compartment. Each piece was a brick in the wall I was building, not to confront her but to destroy her. I waited until Lila was asleep, then sat Clara down. I know, I said, my voice steady, the words like ash in my mouth. Her face crumpled, tears spilling, but I didn't stop. I laid out every piece of evidence, every lie she'd told, my voice never rising, my calm a weapon. She begged, sobbed, said it was a mistake, that she loved me. But love doesn't leave you bleeding in the dark. I didn't leave her. Not yet. I let her stay, let her think we could rebuild, while I contacted a lawyer, transferred assets, and built a case that would leave her with nothing. The final twist came a month later, when I handed her divorce papers in front of her lover. His face pale as I revealed I'd known his name all along. Clara's eyes widened, her world collapsing as mine had. I walked away, Lila's hand in mine, the weight of silence finally lifted, replaced by the bitter freedom of truth.